8:45. This is the Sri Lanka Broadcasting Corporation. The news edited by J. Yogaraj, read by Soundithavam. The President says some are using economic and political crisis as a pretext to influence national security. The PM's office to cut expenditure by 50%. Parliamentarian Pramita Bandaratennakon alleges there was a lapse on the police during these incidents. MP Vasudeva alleges that there are some political agendas carried out by the JVP and FSP. The Energy Minister says petrol unavailable for 2 days. Lanka IOC responds to reports of price increase. The power cut schedule for the next 3 days released. Over 14,000 Triforce personnel promoted in view of Victory Day. In news overseas, Russian soldier pleads guilty in first war crimes trial of Ukraine conflict. In sports, the first test between Sri Lanka and Bangladesh is evenly poised. President Gotabaya Rajapaksa, in his message for the 13th anniversary of the National War Heroes Day, says various local and foreign groups and individuals are attempting to use the economic and political crisis as a pretext to influence national security. Quote, "We must defeat it together. Only then will the courageous war heroes' commitment to the country be preserved." Unquote. The President also emphasized that the government would not disregard the policy towards safeguarding sovereignty and independence of this country under any circumstances, as it desires is to protect the motherland above all else. The war heroes put an end to the war and brought peace to the country through a humanitarian operation, the President said, further adding that there was no hatred, anger or revenge in it. Therefore, there is no room for racism or any other form of extremism in the motherland where peace was established. Noting that Sri Lankans have gone through many challenging eras and occasions in history, the President said it should not be forgotten that the patriots always took the lead. Quote, "The war heroes of the country represent this group. Therefore, it is important to recall that the history too has given you the responsibility of working cautiously after prudently considering the current challenge." Unquote. The debate on the attack at Golface and violent incidents occurred island-wide on 9th May 2022 was conducted for the second day. Joining the debate, Parliamentarian Pramita Bandaratennakon said there was a lapse on the police during these incidents. The police should have with more responsibility, he added. The parliamentarian requested the IGP to focus on the suspects who engaged in criminal activities by damaging personal properties, public properties and harming the individuals, and take immediate action to probe those incidents. Joining the debate, Parliamentarian Vasudeva Nanayakara said the agitation and protests at Golface will not cease even after the President resigning from the post. There are sinister motives behind these protests, he added. There are some political agendas carried out by the JVP and FSP. The parliamentarian vehemently condemned the violent activities that caused severe damages to the houses, properties, vehicles and physical assault. Mr. Vasudeva Nanayakara requested the police and legal entities to quickly probe on these serious criminal offences and bring the culprits to book. Parliamentarian Dr. Nalaka Godaheva emphasised the importance of forming an all-party interim government to solve the current economic issue. He also stressed that the criminals and wrongdoers of the 9th May violent incidents should be punished as soon as possible. Parliamentarian Dallas Alaperuma stressed that these disturbances should not affect the young children's future. He said that there is a glimpse of hope of rebuilding the nation if all get together, shedding the differences. Joining the debate, Parliamentarian Thalatha Athukorela said it is not fair for allocating a separate fuel station for the parliamentarians where the general public is undergoing severe hardships to find fuel. Joining the debate, MP Rohitha Abegunawardena said violent activities took place in 9 electorates in the Kalutara district. These criminals should be punished and compensation should be provided to the affected people, he added. This news broadcast comes to you from the Sri Lanka Broadcasting Corporation. More than 14,000 Triforce personnel have received promotions in their next ranks, coinciding with the 13th anniversary of the National War Heroes Day. Accordingly, 396 officers of the Sri Lanka Army and a record number of 8,110 other ranks of the Army have been promoted to their respective next rank with effect from today, May 18th. Meanwhile, the Air Force said 450 of its officers and 3,361 other ranks were promoted to their next ranks concurrent to the National War Heroes Day. In a statement, the Sri Lanka Navy also said 74 of its officers, 9 senior officers and 65 junior officers and 2,010 junior and senior sailors of different rates in both regular and volunteer forces were advanced to their next higher ranks. The Minister of Power and Energy, Kanchana Wijesekara, has requested the general public to refrain from waiting in queues to obtain fuel as supplies were unavailable today and tomorrow, May 18th and 19th. Giving an update on the fuel stocks available in the country during today's parliamentary session, the lawmaker pledged to resolve the issue this weekend. However, diesel will be supplied continuously as sufficient stocks are available. Minister Wijesekara said further, both auto diesel and super diesel were distributed to filling stations yesterday. We hope to provide an uninterrupted supply of auto diesel and super diesel in the coming weeks to 1,190 active filling stations in the country, although there are 1,300 filling stations in total, unquote. However, there is an issue regarding the availability of petrol volumes, the minister noted, adding that a vessel carrying a petrol consignment has been docked in the Sri Lankan waters since late March, but the shipment could not be cleared owing to the US dollar shortage in the country. There is also a payment of $53 million due for the same vessel for a previous shipment delivered in January 2022, he continued. According to Minister Wijesekara, the relevant company had refused to release the vessel until both payments are settled. Following a written assurance by the Central Bank of Sri Lanka to make the payment for the previous shipment within 15 days from August, the companies agreed to release the vessel after the due payment is settled, he explained. The lawmaker stated that the ministry is yet to find funds to make this payment. We are, however, working on getting the shipment released either today or tomorrow, unquote. Meanwhile, Lanka IOC says that certain messages being circulated alleging that it has increased fuel prices with effect from May 18th are completely false. The company said there is no increase in LIOC fuel prices, as claimed by certain messages circulating in various social media platforms. The Public Utilities Commission of Sri Lanka, PUCSL, says that it has approved power cuts of 3 hours and 40 minutes for the 19th, 20th and 21st of May, with time slots rotation on the 20th. With the water levels of hydro catchment reservoirs increasing day by day, the hydropower generation has also shown a rapid increase. This will reduce the burden of fuel-supported fuel generation. And that concludes local news.
The main news story is brought to you by Siddhalepa Vedamahatmya.
The Prime Minister's Secretary Saman Ekanayake has decided to cut the expenditure of the Prime Minister's office by 50%. Prime Minister Ranil Wickremesinghe is of the view that his office should cut spending and set an example to other public officers in the face of an economic crisis, unquote, an official of the Prime Minister's office said. He hoped that other public officers would follow suit. 26 employees who were attached to the Prime Minister's office have been sent to their original places of work, and 16 vehicles which were taken over by the Prime Minister's office have been returned. It is reported that the Secretary to the Prime Minister is also planning to cut costs by performing the duties of the Prime Minister's office with a skeleton staff and limited resources, and came to you in the main news story.
The main news story was brought to you by Siddhalepa Vedamahatmya.
This is Watchlight.
The health sector points out that unnecessary gatherings should be minimized during these days. The director of the Colombo Lady Ridgeway Hospital, Dr. S. Vijayasuriya, said that if the people follow the health guidelines, further a risk of recreation of another corona wave can be prevented. He requests the public to adhere to health guidelines strictly during these days. The government plans to administer the 4th dose. In the first phase, the government plans to implement the 4th dose vaccination to the 60 and above group, and came to you in Watchlight.
Coming up, world news.
Moving on to the headlines tonight. Lancet study says pollution killed 2.3 million Indians in 2019. Russian soldier pleads guilty in first war crimes trial of Ukraine conflict. Gambler to pay back Japanese COVID-19 fund he spent. Pollution led to more than 2.3 million premature deaths in India in 2019, according to a new Lancet study. Nearly 1.6 million deaths were due to air pollution alone, and more than 500,000 were caused by water pollution. The latest Lancet Commission on Pollution and Health reports blamed pollution for 9 million, or about 1 in 6 deaths globally. It said India, where bad air kills more than 1 million people every year, remained among the worst affected. A 21-year-old Russian soldier has pleaded guilty to killing an unarmed civilian in the first war crimes trial in Ukraine since the war erupted. Vadim Shimshiramarin admitted shooting a 62-year-old man a few days after the invasion began. He faces life in jail. The prisoner was brought into the tiny keep courtroom in handcuffs, flanked by heavily armed guards. He looked nervous and kept his head bowed. Just a couple of meters from him, the widow of the man killed was sitting. A man who gambled away a huge COVID-19 relief handout after receiving the money mistakenly says he will pay Japanese authorities back, bit by bit, according to local media. The man was mistakenly sent 46.3 million yen, or $357,400 in April, which is supposed to be shared among 463 people in a town in western Japan. The southern town of Abu is suing the man and is considering criminal action. Back to the headlines of the world news. Lancet study says pollution killed 2.3 million Indians in 2019. Russian soldier pleads guilty in first war crimes trial of Ukraine conflict. And gambler to pay back Japanese COVID-19 fund he spent. That concludes this bulletin of world news. And we move on to development news. The CSE gained 4% within the first hour of trading yesterday, a day after the new Prime Minister Ranil Wickremesinghe addressed the country on its ongoing economic crisis. Stock market analysts opined that the address impacted the CSE positively. Buying interest was noted in most counters, especially blue-chip ones. Prime Minister Wickremesinghe has now turned to Japan for a fresh financial relief package amounting to between $3.5 billion to $5 billion, and this development too is perceived by market analysts as buoying the market to a degree, and came to you in development news.
Sports news is brought to you by
Sampath Bank. We present your future.
Mushfiqur's 105 to go with Tamim Iqbal's 133 and half-centuries from Liton Das and Mahamadul Hassan Joy helped Bangladesh declare their first innings on 465 for 9 and secure lead of 68 runs in reply to Sri Lanka's first innings score of 397. Dimuth Karunaratne and Oshada Fernando then started their second innings steadily before the latter was run out needlessly for 19. Lasith Ambaldenia, the night watchman, had a few nervy moments but did his job before being bowled off the final ball of the day by Taijul Islam. At stumps, Sri Lanka had reached 39 for 2, still trailing Bangladesh by 29 runs. Karunaratne was unbeaten on 18 and will be joined by Kusal Mendis in all likelihood tomorrow morning. Tomorrow is the fifth and final day of the second match, the test match, and in the scores, the Sri Lanka batted first and made 397 in their first innings and were 39 for 2 in their second innings at the end of the fourth day's play today. Earlier, Bangladesh declared their first innings at 465 for 9. That's sports news. We'll look at business news next.
Cash through NSP globally and win wonderful gifts locally. From October 1st, 2021 to December 31st, 2022. Remit a minimum of $100 or an equivalent amount in any foreign currency 3 times through NSB U Trust.
Business News, sponsored by National Savings Bank, the safest place for your money.
In the backdrop of turbulent market conditions, the Hatton National Bank plc continued to demonstrate resilience, strength and stability, posting a profit before tax of 5.9 billion rupees and a profit after tax of 4.8 billion rupees for the first quarter of 2022, recording a year-on-year growth of 7% and 3% respectively. At group level, profit before tax and profit after tax were 6.4 billion rupees and 5.4 billion rupees respectively. That's business news. We look at economic news next.
Business news sponsored by
Cash through NSP globally and win wonderful gifts locally. Will you be the lucky winner of the NSP Golden Jubilee? 50 gold sovereigns for the top prize winner of the NSP Golden Jubilee. Scooters for the 10-second prize winners. iPhones for the 10 third prize winners. Mountain bikes for the 29 fourth prize winners. From October 1st, 2021 to December 31st, 2022. Remit a minimum of $100 or an equivalent amount in any foreign currency 3 times through NSP You Trust.
Economic news, courtesy of...
I bought my daughter a laptop for her work by managing my finances. Whatever the expenses may be, I can't afford to miss out on life's special moments like her birthday or our anniversary. So you need to invest to make your family's future flourish.
Saving money isn't easy when you have responsibilities. That's why we promise to give you the best returns and guarantee on your investment. LOLC Finance Fixed Deposits. Maximize your savings. LOLC Finance PLC, incorporated on the 13th of December 2001, is rated SLA stable by ICRA Lanka Limited and is licensed by the Monetary Board of the Central Bank of Sri Lanka under the Finance Business Act No. 42 of 2011.
Hydropower companies in Sri Lanka had the opportunity to interact with Nepal's Ministry of Energy, Water Resources and Irrigation and the Nepal Electricity Authority on the investment opportunities in Nepal for hydropower development during a meeting held virtually on May 6th. The meeting was jointly organised by the Embassy of Sri Lanka in Nepal and the Export Development Board of Sri Lanka. The EDB chairman Suresh Dimel highlighted the importance of the construction sector as an export service for Sri Lanka and the expertise in hydropower available with the Sri Lankan private sector, which has made considerable inroads, particularly in the African continent. And that's economic news.
Saving money isn't easy when you have responsibility. That's why we promise to give you the best returns and guarantee on your investment. LOLC Finance Fixed Deposits. Maximize your savings. LOLC Finance PLC, incorporated on the 13th of December 2001, is rated SLA stable by ICRA Lanka Limited and is licensed by the Monetary Board of the Central Bank of Sri Lanka under the Finance Business Act No. 42 of 2011.
The Weather Report.
The Met Department says the southwest monsoon will be expected to establish over the island by tomorrow. Showers or thundershowers will occur at times in the western, Sabragamo, central, northwestern and southern provinces. Fairly heavy showers, about 75 millimeters, can occur at some places in the Sabragamo province and in the Kandy, Nuwara, Galle and Matara districts. Several spells of showers will occur in the northern province and in the Anuradhapura district. Strong winds about 40 to 50 kilometers per hour can be expected at times over the western slopes of the central hills, northern, north-central and northwestern provinces and in the Hambantota and Trincomalee districts. This weather report was published at 7:30 p.m. this evening. Further details could be obtained by visiting the official website of the department. Meanwhile, the International Weather Forecast website AccuWeather.com reports that the day's weather was observed to be bright with occasional showers. Today's daytime temperature was observed to be around 29 degrees Celsius. There will be light showers in many places in the Colombo district in the night. Tonight's temperature will be around 26 degrees Celsius and there will be scattered showers in selected spots late in the night. The ground temperature would be 26 degrees Celsius at the time of this news broadcast. The air quality index AQI is 22. The air quality is generally acceptable for most individuals. However, sensitive groups may experience minor to moderate symptoms from long-term exposure. To conclude this bulletin of news, a recap of the headlines. The President says some are using the economic and political crisis as a pretext to influence national security. The PM's office to cut expenditure by 50%. Parliamentarian Pramita Bandaratennakone alleges there was a lapse on the police during these incidents. MP Vasudeva Nayakara alleges that there are some political agendas carried out by the JVP and FSP. Energy Minister says petrol unavailable for 2 days. Lanka IOC responds to reports of price increase. The power cut schedule for the next 3 days released. Over 14,000 Triforce personnel promoted in view of Victory Day. Russian soldier pleads guilty in first war crimes trial of Ukraine conflict. And the first test between Sri Lanka and Bangladesh is evenly poised. That concludes tonight's news broadcast.